Husband convinced himself I was cheating. Now his delusions have turned our friends against me and I can't expose his lies. My husband has been dealing with some major issues. We have not yet figured out what it is. But he has been dealing with certain delusions. For example, it all started 6 months ago when he was convinced he had caught me cheating because he found a document saying so on my laptop. When I arrived home and he tried looking for it to show me, he obviously couldn't find it. He is going to therapy, but as of right now, we are technically separated and living in different rooms. It's just because this keeps happening. A certain insecurity eats itself into my husband, and he becomes convinced that it's the truth. He either dreams proof or he just convinces himself that anything is proof. I'd what he does with the therapist. But I honestly don't see it getting better. Last week, he was mad at our daughter, 15, because she didn't want him to drive her to prom and make pictures with her. When I went to ask her, she said that was not true. She had talked to her dad about what she would like to do when she graduates in 2 years. Her father just got really mad at the perceived sly. The problem is that he keeps talking to people about the issues. I was already wondering why so many mutuals stopped responding to me, but apparently, they all think I am an awful human being and terrible spouse. I just want to tell people what is going on. Also so they are aware that my husband is basically lying to them and for them to tell me delusions that he might be having that I don't know. But at the very beginning of his therapy, he begged me not to tell anyone because people would think he is crazy. My sister said that it would also be an asshole thing to do that would basically feed into his delusions. I just feel like I am done. Ida? Oop, he doesn't trust me, so he doesn't tell me. I know he gets professional help because he introduced us. But as far as I know, it's a therapist. Not a psychiatrist. Oop, obviously, I am not in the medical field. But I can't describe them as anything else. Mainly because we have not done any of the things he convinced himself of. For example, he was convinced our oldest daughter, 19, was pregnant because she said no to sushi. She was just not in the mood for raw fish. So my husband obviously became obsessed with the idea that our daughter was pregnant. He would go to full rants saying how dare she, we gave her everything etc. Update 1. I have tried everything from getting him to a real psychologist to having him committed. I have tried with his doctor, with my mill and with my lawyer. But he has not broken the law or actually assaulted me. Just threatened to kill me and our daughter for being whores. But to the police that does not matter because we don't matter, so please all the suggestions you have and suggestions to get him committed or that he might have a tumor or dementia or schizophrenia. Please stop. I have no fight left in me. I also have no legal ground over him. I can't care anymore, or I will drive myself insane. He still has a support net. He will never be alone. But that man is dangerous to me and my daughters, and the duty of a parent is above all else, so again, please stop suggesting what he could have or what I should do regarding him, because that job is no longer mine. After I posted, things started to unravel quickly. About 5 months ago, when my husband's behavior first started escalating, I quietly consulted with a lawyer here. At that time, his delusions had begun to affect our daily lives, and I knew I needed legal advice. The divorce process requires a period of legal separation before the divorce can be finalized. We initiated this process, and I requested full custody of our 15-year-old daughter, given her increasing fear of her father. The court was also concerned and ordered a psychological evaluation for my husband to assess his mental fitness for parenting. A few weeks into the legal separation, my husband's paranoia worsened. He started placing Apple AirTags in my car and in our 15-year-old daughter's backpack, tracking our every move. My daughter was the one who found the AirTag in her bag and was terrified. When I confronted him, he insisted it was for our safety, but it was clear to me that his paranoia was spiraling out of control. This incident deeply affected our daughter, who began refusing to see her father. Around this time, my mother-in-law reached out to me. She was concerned because my husband had accused her of cheating on his father, something that was completely out of character for him. Phil didn't believe it for a second but was deeply worried about his state of mind. Her reaching out was a small but much-needed relief. She acknowledged that his behavior was erratic and offered her support, knowing that something was seriously wrong. My older daughter, 19, had also become involved in the situation. She had been quietly documenting her father's behavior for months. She recorded 3 different occasions where my husband went on delusive rants. The first was about how I'm supposedly cheating on him with one of my coworkers, a man I barely interact with. The second was about how our 15-year-old daughter was secretly dating someone older and lying to him about it. The third was about how the entire family was conspiring against him to make him look crazy. Watching these videos was heartbreaking, but they validated everything I'd been dealing with privately. Things escalated further when my husband almost attacked one of my colleagues. He had convinced himself that this man was the affair partner I was supposedly seeing behind his back. It took all my strength to physically separate them before the situation turned violent. As the legal process continued, my lawyer informed me that due to the severity of the situation and the psychological evaluation ordered by the court, my request for full custody was strongly considered. In Spain, courts typically prioritize the well-being of the child, and given my husband's mental state and the danger he posed, it seemed likely that I would be granted full custody of our 15-year-old daughter. She had made it clear that she didn't want to see her father, and the court was taking her wishes into account. In the midst of this, my 19-year-old daughter decided to take matters into her own hands. She posted the 3 videos she had recorded of her father's breakdowns on Instagram, along with a compilation of texts, photos, and other evidence she had collected over the past few months. Her intention was to show the world what we had been enduring, but it quickly turned into a public spectacle. The backlash was intense. Some people were horrified and reached out with sympathy and support, while others criticized us for airing dirty laundry and accused my daughter of betraying her father. As the divorce process continued, my husband's mental health became a significant factor. The psychological evaluation ordered by the court revealed the depth of his delusions, particularly around cheating and female sexuality. It became clear that he was not fit to make decisions regarding our daughter's well-being. The evaluation supported my claim for full custody, and the court is now in the process of finalizing that decision. In the meantime, all communication between my husband and me is being handled through our lawyers, and I'm ensuring that any interaction between him and our 15-year-old daughter is supervised. Given the severity of the situation and the damage done to our lives, I'm making plans to move away with my daughter once the legal proceedings are finalized. My reputation in our current community is shattered, thanks to his delusions and the lies he has spread. Starting fresh somewhere new seems like the only way for us to heal and rebuild our lives. I never wanted it to come to this. I still care deeply for my husband, but I can't keep sacrificing our well-being for the sake of his image. The revelation that he's been lying to his therapist, or rather, his unqualified life coach, was a breaking point for me. I realized I couldn't trust him to get better on his own. Thankfully, some friends have started to see through his stories and are reaching out to support us, which gives me hope. But I know it's going to be a long, difficult road ahead. For anyone else in a similar situation, please know that you're not alone. Update 2. Last week, my husband showed up at our home completely out of control. He wasn't supposed to be there, but he came without any warning, and right away, he started yelling. He was accusing me and our 15-year-old daughter of being against him, saying we were plotting to destroy him. He was furious. I tried to calm him down, but it just made him angrier. He started throwing things and shouting that we were ruining his life. Then, he turned on our daughter. He called her a whore and said she was supposed to be the good one, but she had turned against him too. He was moving toward her like he was going to hit her, and I got between them to protect her. That's when he shoved me so hard I hit the wall, and he slapped me across the face. I was stunned, but he didn't stop. He grabbed my throat and started strangling me. I fought back, scratching and biting to get him off me. Meanwhile, my daughter managed to call the police while this was happening. She was terrified, but she stayed on the phone with them, begging for help. When the police arrived, they arrested him right away. He's now facing charges for domestic violence, and the court has put a restraining order in place. I can't even explain how scary that moment was, but I'm just glad my daughter was able to call for help. I don't know what would have happened otherwise. The legal process is moving quickly now, especially after the violence. The court has ordered a psychiatric evaluation to see if he's fit to even be around our daughters, let alone have visitation rights. At this point, I'm expecting full custody of my 15-year-old. She's been through so much, and she doesn't want to see her father anymore, even if it's supervised. I think the court will honor that, especially given everything that has happened. On top of all of this, the videos my 19-year-old daughter posted online have continued to spread. A lot of people have reached out with their own stories about the things my husband told them, things I didn't even know he had said. It's hard to hear, but it's also helping me understand just how bad it was. Some of the delusions he had included, he thought I was part of a secret group plotting to harm him. He believed our 19-year-old was spying on him for me. He thought our 15-year-old was trying to poison him by putting something in his food. He said his mother was having an affair with her best friend. He told his father that I hired a private investigator to follow him. He thought a family friend was trying to take over his business. He said one of my close friends was in love with me and trying to help me leave him. He told neighbors that I was going to sell our house and leave him with nothing. He believed my boss was helping me hide money in offshore accounts. He thought our daughters were hiding secret phones and communicating behind his back. He accused me of manipulating our children to turn them against him. He said his sister was trying to steal his inheritance. He believed I had hidden cameras in the house to watch him. He accused me of using witchcraft to control his mind. He thought I was planning to flee the country with our daughters. It's been overwhelming to hear how far his paranoia went. Some friends have apologized and now understand what was really happening, but others still believe his stories, and that's been hard. I'm not sure how to fix all the relationships that were damaged by this. I've also been getting a lot of questions about what has happened with my daughter's therapy and the divorce process, so I'll explain a bit. At first, we had to put my daughter into telehealth because we were waiting for an in-person spot with the therapist we were referred to by our doctor. It took some time to get that set up and approved, but now she's seeing someone regularly, and it's been helping. As for the divorce, it could have been simple, but my husband has turned it into a high-conflict situation. I've been so frustrated with how slow it's been going, especially because it didn't need to be like this. But because of everything he's done, the courts have had to be more careful, and it's taking longer than expected. I'm only communicating with him through lawyers now. Once everything is done, I plan to move with my 15-year-old to start over somewhere else, away from all of this. That's where things stand now. It's been a horrible, painful experience, but I'm doing my best to keep my daughters safe and make sure we can move forward. Thank you again to everyone who has supported us through this, it really means a lot. I went through this 13 years ago. It's like I just read my story. Unfortunately, my ex never snapped out of it, 46 now, and has been living with his parents ever since. Their life is a living nightmare, he refuses any help and thinks everyone is always out to get him. He's unable to keep a job, has no friends, stays in his room now 24/7. I'm concerned what's going to happen to him when they both pass. I'll be damned if he gets dumped on my son. Oop, that's scary. I'm gonna make sure I work out a plan with my ex-in-laws so that my daughters won't get impacted anyway. Oop, thank you. He wanted to hurt our daughter and tried to kill me. I don't care anymore, he does not want help. We are deathly afraid of him. He ruined our lives. He traumatized all of us. He hurt us so deeply. My daughter has attacks every day when the phone rings or a car the same color and has drive past us. I can't sleep at night. I have been prescribed sleeping medication, but I am too scared to take the in case is sleep trough my ex-husband killing me or our daughter. We are so tired. Now on to second story. Mother insisted on crashing in my wedding suite during the honeymoon, calling me rude when I refused, turning into the monster-in-law I never expected. My 35F bride and I, 41F, planned an elopement in Vegas initially, but of course everyone wanted to come. So we paid to have a micro-wedding, under 10 people, for our most special guests to come. Everyone is responsible for their own rooms, arrangements, flights, etc. We posted on our website, which no one has read. We planned a week out in Vegas, the first few days being just for me and my future wife. However, my dear mother doesn't want to fly out to Vegas just for a wedding. She's never been to Vegas, so she wants to make a whole trip of it. To me, this is not a family trip. Although my family will be there, it is a trip for me and my wife. It is our wedding, after all. A few months ago, my mother suggested to stay with us in our hotel suite for the first few nights, the three of us. I shot that idea down pretty hard and explained there won't be enough room. It's a wedding suite, so one king bed, one thin couch. I was definitely surprised she had the wherewithal to even. Weather has been bad for my family and my bride's family in their respective cities. Last night my mother called to tell me she may not make it a few days before the wedding. She's thinking of canceling her hotel room for those 3 days because she doesn't want to lose her money. For me, that's not a huge loss. We wanted the time beforehand together anyway. I continue listening and waiting for her to ask if she can stay in our room. Mom, so if I cancel my hotel room but end up going out that day anyway, can I stay with you in your room? Me, Mom, there's only one bed and the couch is way too thin. Mom, I'll sleep on the floor. Me, Mom, no, it's not appropriate to be in my wedding suite during the wedding week. Mom, I don't understand, you guys live together, what's the difference? Me, it's not appropriate. Mom, you have made it very clear that you don't want me there those days before the wedding. Me, Mom, you know I've already bought tickets to events that include you, and we have brunch plans on this day as well. I'd rather you be safe, and if you have to fly out a couple of days later, then it's fine. Mom, I'm worried I'm going to miss your wedding and then you'll be mad I missed your wedding. Because she told me 20 years ago that she wouldn't attend my wedding if I married a woman. She's come a long way since then, and she loves my partner. I never thought my own mother would be so enmeshed with me that she would suggest to stay in my room with me. Why? I don't even understand why you would want to stay with your daughter and her new wife in her wedding suite. I can't believe I had to tell the woman who raised me, the woman who taught me manners and respect. I can't believe I had to explain to her why she can't stay in the room with me and my partner. I feel so guilty, probably because I've been told to feel guilty as a child, and I know I'm making the right decision. Never expected my own mother to be a monster-in-law. Update 1. Well, I'm sure you all are wondering how the wedding went and where Mom slept. If you're looking for the original post, you may find it here. I feel my story has taken a sad turn. My relationship with my mother is worse than I thought. I'll get to the story now. We both arrived at the airport around the same time from our different flights, and my mom had a pain that affected her walking. Not great, since we're going to be walking around in Vegas. I offer Advil multiple times and she rejects it. I believe she may have taken it one time from me. We arrive at her hotel first. I assume she never canceled her reservation lol because she had a reservation. We dropped our bags at her room and got on with our plans. Later that night, my wife and I checked into our suite, alone. The first fight with my mom was the next day in my suite. She had interrupted me several times that day, one of our many problems, then pointed out how I interrupted her. At one point I tried to once again begin my story. She interrupts me and I exasperate. Do you know how many times I've tried to tell this story today and you've interrupted me? Then I said, do you do this to everyone, or just me? And she put her middle finger in my face, screaming at me, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. My wife had to intervene and say, whoa. That was not necessary. My wife later told me she almost threw her out of our room. I stuck to my I statements and I said, when you cut me off, it makes me feel like what I'm saying isn't important. I should have addressed the F.U.s, but it was too heated at the time. I tried to de-escalate and will address this at a later time. At this point I'm realizing my mother is immature, emotionally immature. Whatever feelings she's feeling when I confront her, genuinely BTW, asking her if she truly does this to everyone or just me. She can't handle it and freaks out on me, like a high schooler. It's sad. I'm devastated, actually. To have this insight on my wedding getaway caused me a lot of pain. I've looked for answers for a long time. I've thought maybe she's narcissistic. My therapist mentioned possible BPD, but I'm looking into emotional immaturity at the moment. I've learned it can coincide with narcissism, or BPD, so I can't necessarily write those off. Then the night after that, the rest of the party starts to arrive. My wife's best friend arrives very late and has a reservation in our hotel. She calls my wife to let her know her room isn't ready, and they're looking for a room for her. My mother pipes in, "She didn't call?" Anonymous brides. My name, "She didn't call in advance to let them know?" I realize very quickly this sounds like she's putting the responsibility on me, that the friend's problem is now suddenly my problem. "Mom, I don't know if she called in advance. She's responsible for her own travel and her own hotel room," I say. She responds, "Well, are you going to let her stay in your hotel room if she doesn't get a room?" I reply, "No, she's not staying in my room. There are plenty of hotel rooms in Vegas. She will get a room tonight. She's a big girl, Mom." "That's fucked up." She says. A good friend of mine also came on the trip with her new partner. Stayed in a different hotel, not a problem. She didn't arrive to my hotel suite until we were about to be picked up from the limo. She gets along with my mom really well. The minute we were in the limo, the two of them were attached at the hip and I feel like I barely spoke to my friend. I have video and pictures specifically of them ignoring everyone else in the limo and speaking only to each other. I took them because I felt like the party was kind of separated in the limo. The wedding went off without a hitch. It was absolutely beautiful and I was so incredibly happy. Crying tears of joy, I hope, and not tears of how much in pain I was from the emotional week I had already had. The next morning, my friend once again ignored me to have breakfast with her partner. We discussed in advance the time everyone was getting together, and she scheduled her reservation for 30 minutes before. She sat at a different table and ate alone with her partner. We got a table next to her with 2 extra chairs, but she did not join us. She later asks my wife if I'm upset, and my wife responds, "She thought she'd spend a little time with you on the trip." I try to let the feeling go. I'm just devastated by the people I'm allowing in my life at the moment. I am really considering evaluating these relationships. Later in my hotel room that night, I receive a text from my good friend saying that she's taking off a little early from the trip, blames it on work. I really don't know why she even came. Just for the vacation, I guess. I barely said 2 words to her in the 5 hours I saw her. Sad, sad, sad. I am so sad about this, about all of this. Other than the drama, I really enjoyed the trip. I had a lovely time with my wife, and very happy with our hair and makeup, our vendors, our ceremony. It was all so beautiful and I am thankful they came to see us get married. I definitely had some insecurities before going on this trip, and it's a reality I have issues with some people in my life. I am currently in therapy and had a discussion with my therapist about this. I'm certainly not going no contact or ghosting anyone after this, but discussions need to be had, and therapy needs to continue. Books need to be read, and practice needs to be put in place. All I can do is commit myself to a healthy life in all ways, practice radical acceptance.